Welcome in, everybody, to the whole My Pen Promptcast, booked for Friday night interviews. Tonight we have two very special guests with us. But as you all know, our standard hosts for Friday night, my name is Styx, and CEO, creator of Whole My Pen Promptcast, author Julie DeFisher. With us, joining us tonight, we have two authors who I've heard of before. I know you guys have because I see a lot of familiar names in chat tonight. We have author Daniel Shinhofen, and we have author M. Tress. Both of them have Daniel, DJ, currently has three series rotating between Heavenly Chaos, Aether's Revival, and sorry about that, there was a gnat. Anteceden's Legacy. And then we have M. Tress, who has four series rotating right now between Summoned by Monster Girls in Space, Steelforged Legacy. I want to make sure I get that one right. And Lost Bloodline. I think I'm 7 for 7, right?
Yep.
Sweet. Stated rules will apply. Whenever I ask a question, DJ will answer first, and then M. Tress, and then whenever Julie asks a question, Tress will kick it off, and DJ. Chat, feel free to type in your questions. For the new people here who haven't experienced a book for Friday yet, there is a no spoilers rule. If you ask a question that we know is going to lead to spoilers, we're just not going to ask it. And if we ask a question that leads to spoilers, we don't expect them to answer it. So no freebies for you guys. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Thanks for inviting me.
Julie, anything you want to say before we dive in?
Just one quick announcement. Everybody, if you know an author, narrator, anybody of the bookish community, and you think that they might want to be on this show after watching our Controlled Chaos, send them on over. All we ask is keep it respectful in chat. We do have our mods on the loose, and they have no problem with dropping the hammer. Otherwise, come in, sit down, bring your drinks, your snacks, and enjoy the ride.
Yep, we're always looking for authors, narrators for audiobooks, editors, anybody who's literary adjacent within the field. We would love to have them on the show. I thought about reaching out to Andy, but considering our very first interaction, I'm a little scared of that one.
Not sure what you did to Andy the first time you
had my very first question to Andy on one of your live streams, her response was, and I quote, "Go fuck yourself." So
I don't remember what you asked, but that's a strong statement from Andy.
She immediately laughed right after, and she said, "I mean that in a good way." But that was my first ever answer from Andy.
She is mostly laid back. If you asked respectfully, you would get at least a respectful response from her. Probably not a go fuck yourself again. Probably.
But that's a badge of honor I'll take with me. We'll dive into the questions, I guess. Julie, go ahead and ask your famous one.
Okay, yeah, my first question straight off the top, as usual, is what have you researched for your books that probably has you on a watch list?
God, what haven't I researched on my books that have gotten me on a watch list at this point?
She said the first thing, Matt.
Oh, the first thing. That's a hard one. Because that goes back a fair ways. I believe it was in relation to things you can do to the FBI when you're illegally arrested.
Yeah, it'll probably get you at least on somebody's watch list.
Yeah.
I am not sure which of my many questions would have been my first that actually got me prompted to a watch list. The one that I could say probably guaranteed it is, how fast do you go unconscious if various arteries are cut? As I did the collection of arteries. It wasn't just one, it was all of the major ones, just to be sure.
That actually makes a lot of sense. The hard part for me when I was thinking about it was what lists am I already not on because of the stuff I've done through life to get here. So had to figure out which ones actually would have triggered off the research.
Fair enough. I, however, have led a much purer lifestyle than yourself, sir. So mine was very straightforward.
So I will ask a question that I already know one of your answers for, but not everybody in the chat knows. So we're going to share this information. We're gonna let them experience the same thing. Which of your characters has taken the hardest left on you?
It's an easy one. That would be Alvin from Apocalypse Gates. He's supposed to be a lovable asshole. He decided he wanted to be a fucking paladin. So I scrapped the entire first book, rewrote it back to what he was supposed to be, and then completed the 8-book series with him being the asshole he was supposed to be all along. Goddamn paladins.
Yeah, I remember hearing you complain about that one when you were still working through like books 2 and 3 of the like, God, it's a little twit. He keeps switching stuff on me. I actually had something similar happen on my end, which was Cassandra from Summon by Monster Girls, the lovable, goofy dwarf Lamia who was supposed to be the Batman to the protagonist, sorry, the first girl that was the Princess Rika, the Wolf Girl, because you rarely see Wolf Girl, so I went with her. And I wrote the entire first book, and at the very end, I could feel Cass in the back of my head glaring at me, going, "No, he's mine. I want to be first girl," and she forced me to rewrite the entire book and make her be the first love interest. And she refused to comply or do anything until I rewrote the entire friggin' book. So she basically black boxed the entire thing on book 2 until I went and redid book 1.
I
Haven't
really
had
thought
that
it
issue.
was. I really thought it was Sean marrying all the staff.
No. Apocalypse Gates came first. Apocalypse Gates 1 came long before Binding Words 5.
True, but I didn't say chronologically. Just whatever the most impactful one was. But I guess Alvin
I
making
think
a rewrite is
I think rewriting an entire book is pretty impactful.
Yeah, no, you got me on that one. Over to you.
Okay, out of your families in your books, which ones would be the survivor of Survivor, and which ones would probably die a horrible death from disability?
Sorry, could you clarify the question? What do you mean by the family of books?
So like take your family units that you've created in each of your books, your groups.
Mm-hmm.
Which of if they were all teams on Survivor, which one would win? And which one would drop out due to medical or, intervention reasons?
Oh, that's okay. I think the one that would probably win Survivor, like the old TV show, that would be the gang from the Lost Bloodline. Mostly due to the fact when you have 3 or 4 millennia old primal spirits, you don't need to worry about figuring out how to do the thing to survive on the desert island. They already know how to do it. As far as people who would drop out early, that's Liam. I'm sorry, he's kind of a nitwit. He's very dumb to start with.
I want to caveat that if they're going strictly by the TV show, then it doesn't matter if you can fucking survive. Season 1 showed you that. It's all politics, not actually surviving.
That's fair.
So I would need a clarification on that question. Are we talking about the TV show or actually surviving?
No, we're
the
talking
scenario?
about the TV show. Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Who would win and who would be pulled from the show for some outside intervention?
So you want to try that one again,
easier, if we wanted to more equate it to like Naked and Afraid, which ones would make it, which ones wouldn't?
Oh, Naked. So actual surviving instead of the political bullshit that is surviving.
Yeah, no, the actual surviving.
Cool. Gotcha. So there you go.
In that case, Matt's fine. In my case, that's going to be Sean, because if you can shape metal, stone, wood, have magical healing, regeneration, the power of untold gods, that entire family unit, all 20 of them, because fuck you, Sean, is going to survive out of all my books. If you're going off of the Survivor TV show, which is political based, that's going to be Gregory's family because Yukiko's there and she is going to just murder everyone in backhanded deals and stuff because that's what she does.
Damn it. Okay. Excellent. The fuck you, Sean, caught me so off guard. If your world, or okay, no, hold on, I can't say that because you both have multiple. I'm gonna ask a specific series for each of you in this case, just because it'll be easier. So we're gonna go with AR and MGIS. What would if they were a cocktail? What would that story's cocktail be?
I'm sorry, say that again?
For Aethers, if you were to make a cocktail to a drink, an alcoholic beverage to represent Aethers revival, what would the
Honestly, it would probably be some kind of cherry liqueur. I don't know. I am not a big fan of sake myself, so I don't know if there is cherry sake out there. If there was, then that would very much carry at least the flavor and tone of Aethers.
I think if I had to make MGIS into a cocktail, I'd say it's a whiskey sour. It's
Hopefully
got the
done right.
yeah, it's got the bite of the whiskey in the harsh undertones of the story, and the reality of injury and death that occurs, but there is still the sweetness of the slice of life moments. Though I would have to put a ridiculous garnish on it if you get far enough into the series to meet the Severax.
Some kind of spiky garnish, I'm assuming.
I was to say dragon fruit, maybe.
Oh, yeah, like so. I was thinking some kind of little plastic figurine, like or the foofy umbrella with a weird design on it,
Fair enough.
Chat, type out
or
your
those
questions
cocktails
too.
that you get at the whiskey or at the bar that have the shark in them, that you dip the shark in and it changes color. That, but it's a little plastic Severax that you dip in.
Okay. And our other co-host has a very interesting question because this is one that she always asks. Which characters would you trust with your car keys, and which ones would you not trust with your car keys?
I would trust Chloe or Sasha with my car keys, hands down. Mostly because I would trust Chloe with almost anything. She hurts me if I don't. The ones I wouldn't trust with my car keys, I gotta say Reagan, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah. I would. Having read your books and enjoyed them, I would 100% back your assertions on your characters there. Um, Considering a lot of my books are set in settings that cars aren't a thing, I would say there's a good chunk of my characters I would never give car keys to. For those who are used to cars, though, I would give most of my main characters who could drive, honestly, because most of them are very good. Alvin would not get my car keys, but if he wanted them, he'd just shoot me and take them. So I'm kind of screwed on that regard.
So to Mihail in the chat, Audra would sell my car. That's why I wouldn't trust Audra with the keys.
I mean, as long as she gets a good price for it, then you can
Oh,
just buy
she'd get a
another one.
great price. She'd get a great price.
Keeping you guys I understand prepping for this interview why you keep spreadsheets, DJ, because keeping the sheer mass amount of characters between all of your series apart is a challenge. Uh,
Actually, the spreadsheets are so I spell them consistently correctly. That's the only reason I have them.
all right, we're gonna ask one I haven't asked before. If you could ban one word from the English language, what would it be?
Nothing. I don't ban anything. Every word has its time and place. I dislike the idea of bans across the board when it comes to anything written or spoken. The only time bans I think should happen is when you're in a moderated forum and people aren't abiding by the rules. Then you ban the individual because they're a troll and they deserve it. But words, no.
I think the only words I'd want to ban in the English language are what like the nonsensical words that were created purely to troll people. Um, like a lot of the stuff that you see our much younger generation doing that I know we all did when we were younger. I did it just to piss dad off. That's why I'm saying this and why I will keep saying it. With the numbers joke, I'm not going to say them out loud. That kind of thing. But otherwise, I'm kind of on DJ's same path where you shouldn't really ban any parts of the language because it is a living and evolving thing, as long as it's actually being used as a language and not a means to just piss people off.
But if you're using it as a means to piss somebody off, you're still giving language its purpose, which is communicating something. Even if that communication is I hate you and I want you to be upset.
Both fair and valid. Okay. Um, if you were dropped in any of your world, which one do you think you would survive in for more than a week?
Do I get any of the powers for the main characters, or is it just me as I sit right now?
Nope, as you are right now, you get dropped in.
I could probably survive a week in Monster Girls in Space, purely because there's not going to be as much stuff out there trying to kill me. Everywhere else, I'd be dead in a day.
I would say that if you were dropped into that universe as you are now, you would be on Earth in that setting, in which case it's basically just like where you are at the moment, Tress. So
Exactly, that's why I picked that one. The other ones are like, no, there's monsters gonna eat me.
I could easily go with Last Horizons or Alpha World, the first two, which were VR game settings. If we wanted to take the easy lobs away from me, um, more than likely antecedents. Um, if I was stuck on the Earth equivalent, which is Terra, and if I was dropped actually just into the assembly space, I'd still be fine because most of those races aren't a kill on sight kind of issue. So
So you both chose Earth equivalents, but hey, I mean it makes sense, right?
I mean, I would survive in Heavenly Chaos too, but I would never survive in like Aethers. Magi would kill me because I don't got that kind of respect.
Similar to what DJ was saying, summoned by Monster Girls, there is hunted creatures there. Humans are considered boogeymen, so they are not exactly trusted. Steelforged Legacy, Viking cultivation. I'm sorry, the cultivation thing makes it extremely dangerous in general, as well as Lost Bloodline. Yeah, no, I would probably get killed by the Crooked very, very quickly. I don't really write nicer worlds where you can survive just by kind of existing.
How about do you have a do either of you have a special ritual or a lucky piece of clothing or something that you do before sitting down to write?
I wake up. That's about it, honestly. I don't have any of the things I've heard other authors have. I don't have a lucky T-shirt. I don't have to have a cup of coffee. It's really nice. It wakes me up, but I've done it without it. I don't have any rituals or anything for sitting down.
I think I don't really have any rituals either. I've tried the whole fancy hat thing that they talk about with NaNoWriMo, where you always wear this particular piece of clothing or hat to get yourself into the writing mindset. I think if I had anything that would be considered a lucky talisman or whatnot, it's my really clacky keyboard because the ticka taka gets my brain in that happy space. But that's about it.
Fair. Okay, we have one question from chat from C. Joels. I think that's the correct way. How do you balance the more complex relationships in your book?
I'm going to say it before DJ can. The very important part, communication. You got to talk in these relationships. They're very, very important. Having the open communication, the honest talks between the characters is very, very important to making the relationship work in a authentic fashion. Because otherwise it just falls apart. There's only so far you can stretch the he's the protagonist and therefore everyone's going to hop on without any problems. And if you actually give the characters relationship reasons, cultural reasons, and a chance to sit down and talk, it often makes it so much easier to make it work. And then I can save my hand wavium for fun stuff like lasers.
Lasers are a good reason to hand wave. Honestly, I'm not a science guy. I will default back to what I've always said about relationships. It's trust, honesty. Oh my god, I forgot my words.
That happens to
Trust,
the best of
honesty,
us.
communication. THC. Um, and it's not just the relationships in the books. It's relationships in real life, whether that's intimate, friendship, or family. You have to have trust, honesty, and communication if you want those relationships to stay solid and not fall apart and not become transactional in one way, shape, or form. I'm sorry, badly transactional in one way, shape, or form. So that my main characters, at least in most of my books, or one of the women in at least most of my books, will always go back to those three things. And if those three things aren't there, your relationship's probably not going to last very long. Or if it does, it's not going to be a healthy relationship. So
You both do an excellent job of maintaining those complex relationships, which is why you guys have achieved everything you have. None of your characters ever feel like they've been sidelined or forgotten about. So, congrats to both for your styles. We have another question in chat. This one coming from Bad Drop Bear. Favorite monster from your books?
favorite monster, Skippy. He's been there for all of them. Skippy, the recurring villain, has to be my favorite. My favorite monster. Even though he's mostly human, I find the worst monsters in life tend to be human. So it's easy. It's easier to understand and be horrified by what somebody does than like a dragon. A dragon, by and large, is a mythical creature. Do you understand what rough roughly what they're going to do from mythology? But the fact that somebody will, torture you for fun, not something you normally attribute to a dragon. So, Skippy.
I like that response. That's a good one, because I definitely agree. Skippy was a monster for sure in your books. I want to say the Sevraks are my favorite monster, but I don't qualify them as monsters. They're pets. They're just alien pets. So if I had to pick one that is an actual like legitimate monster, it's actually a tie between the monsters inside of the Aberrant Rift that were they emerged from wall sphincters because I love that term. It just makes me laugh every time I say it. And the sack monster from the Summoned by Monster Girls.
Not the Junty, or however you say it
The
from.
Jarty?
Oh, the Jarti are an interesting thing, but that's one of those. Yeah, I see APOC in the chat being like spoiler, spoiler. I'm like, oh no, that's not. That's why I didn't mention the Jarti. There's more to that.
Yep, no, we don't do spoilers here, chat. You're not going to get it. So,
If you know, you know, and if you don't know, read the damn books.
Yeah,
those weren't the wall sphincters. They weren't the chitinous fire centipede slug ones, right? That was a different one.
no, that's a different one.
Yep. All the rifts begin to blend together at some point.
Yeah, that's a big challenge of getting them to stand out at a certain point.
I think it's your turn, Julie.
It is. I was just waiting for everybody to finish up their thing. What is the biggest stigma you have found with writing your particular genre and subgenre that you wish wasn't actually there?
Biggest stigma, it's honestly the number of folks who just kind of look at it and go, "Oh, you write harem, that means you write smut." And my response is always like, "Look, there's a reason that the harem tag is disclosed like fourth or fifth in the line. I write sci-fi, fantasy, men's romance, military action, harem because it happens once in the book, maybe twice per book for a single chapter that is sectioned off so that people can ignore it if they don't want to. It's there because I don't believe we should close the curtains on points that actually have emotional weight to the characters. But so many folks, they look at the fact that there is booba in the story and go, "Oh my god," clutches pearls. And so many there's a fair number of folks who just walk away from it.
It's roughly along the same lines. It's the fact if I say I write harem, you get the response that Matt just talked about. Harem by itself, though, is such a broad swath of a category. You go from everything from what like I write and Matt writes, which is a respectful relationship, just a large relationship, to fap fodder, just girl of the week, banged her, and you never see her again. It's such a broad swath that it gets basically plastered with the same brush regardless. So it's really hard to get away from that. But honestly, as I normally try to say, I write multiple romance. The fact that it's centered around the one guy is just what it is. If you took most of my books and you flipped them to where it was a central female and a lot of guys around her, the reverse harem genre would probably really enjoy what I write because I like to think I write fairly decent relationships. So
I want to point out,
I like that idea.
Dragus, see your question in chat. We ask that anybody who has questions for the authors, we prefer something that both authors can answer, just so that we get even time for everybody. Tress, that one was directed towards you if you want to reply to that one.
What was the question? I missed it in chat.
That would be me asking the question.
Oh, there it is. Haha.
Just trying to scroll through chat here and see if I need
I
to
found
catch
it.
up. Yeah, I'm catching up on any others I might have missed. Chat is flying tonight.
So honestly, the Severax were I would almost call them a fever dream. I went and came up with the idea of, hey, I love pit bulls as a species of dog. I want to take the pit bulls and turn them into an alien animal. And I basically took them in as a creature creator in my head and started fiddling with them, going, okay, how would this change? How would this change? Here's this environmental change. And added a bunch of different things. And then when I was looking at it, I was like, I need something else. We're going to give them beaks and an extra set of arms on top of everything else I've added. And at that point, I went, you know what these things look like with the big spiky heads and the giant muscly bodies? They look like Uthra, so they're going to be from that location, and basically just chased it down the rabbit hole from there.
And it worked out well.
Yep.
All right, thank you for that, Bitzer. I didn't, and no problem, Dragus. You're fine. I'll keep an eye on the team chat for those questions, but I can't exactly pull up Discord while we're streaming, so I will my best here. To ask my next question, what is the most useless piece of writing advice you were ever given?
For me, the most useless piece of writing advice I was ever given is you have to plot out your book. Considering I'm an after-action reporter, not a plotter, pointless advice for me because that is not how I write. I drove myself insane as a teenager trying to do that. So, no.
Oh,
I think for me, the most pointless piece of advice I got was also the most common and at simultaneously the most true. Um, it's the, hey, how do I get better at writing? And whoever I ask the question, they look at me and they go, "You're right." And my old response is always, "That doesn't help me. I need to know specific things, like give me some examples. Don't just throw this at me and walk away. Please, I actually want advice. And I get why folks respond with it because you end up with a lot of authors. They have hundreds of people asking them questions. Hey, how did you get started? How can you help me get this thing going? And you end up with the automatic response of you just write. You have to write. You cannot correct something that isn't written yet. You need to write. But it ends up getting digested down to the point of the you just write that it, while it being the most pertinent and true advice ever, is basically useless because it doesn't give you a direction to move in.
And that's why he stopped asking me for advice.
I just got better at asking the questions on the advice of what it was that I needed information on.
I have the questions pulled. I have the team chat pulled up on my phone now, so I can see those questions, and I know that we missed a few. Julie, are you looking at those right now?
No.
Go ahead and ask yours then. I'll start following up with the chat questions. For those of you we missed, I have them now. We're gonna get caught up. Thank you so much for asking your
Right.
questions.
The whole thing is, if I keep moving things around, everything keeps bleeping on my side. So I'm like, nope, I don't. Okay. What is one character you wish? Okay, no, that's not a better way of putting that. What is one character you wish would have behaved right out of the gate, but made your story more compelling as you went?
I would have to go with Arthine from The Lost Bloodline because I had a plan. I really did. I had a plan for that character and how she was going to interact with them. But she basically picked up the main character by the scruff of his neck and said, "Mine," and walked off with him. Because that's
It's
just
never
who
good
she
when they don't
is.
care. Never good.
Um, so which character should have behaved, but ended up doing it ended up working and doing good. Then and then the two messenger fairies that start a whole thing. They were supposed to be just little household fairies to help out, and that whole thing became a cult of messenger fairies, and I never intended that. But you know what? They were really nice characters, and yeah, it added something else to that storyline.
Yeah, and you got a lot of people get real invested in those fairies.
Yeah.
Catching up on some chat questions here. We have a question from Ace. Is there something that always pulls at you to put into your story, regardless of the book series? Something like a character or a thing or a place that you haven't yet,
Oh, that I haven't yet. Oh, I'm about to say
or
I've
haven't been
done.
able to. I added that last part. He just said a character, thing, or place. I'm assuming that goes to like that you haven't been able to add yet.
Let's say if it was things that I have added, yeah, there's quite a few recurring items that I haven't.
And again, if spoilers don't.
No, I don't think there's anything that I've wanted to include that I haven't included in some way, shape, or form. I mean, there are elements of stories, but those are story elements, not a specific item. So no.
I'd say for me, one of the I do have one that immediately jumped to mind because I'm like, yeah, this is the one that's sitting in the back of my head, banging me on the head with a frying pan, going, "I'm your next series. You should write me." Is a series based around crafting of one type of crafting skill or another, whether it be smithing, weaving, um, enchanting, painting, whatever, some kind of craft skill that ties into magic. Because one of my favorite series of all time is Tamora Pierce's Circle of Magic when I was growing up, and that her take on magical craftsmanship really spoke to me really well. And it's one of those ones I've kind of kept at arm's length, and I'm like, I want to be ready when I do this, and it's coming. I can feel it coming, but I haven't had the chance to do it yet.
All right, I'm gonna clarify. We got a clarification in the chat from Ace. I meant reoccurring things that you just can't keep out of each new story.
Skippy.
No, you just can't keep him out. You just got to keep punking him.
Hey, look, the fans asked for him to die 1,000 deaths, and I think I'm up to like 7 now, okay? I'm working on it.
I mean, it takes a long time to plot a death, especially, and then you got to execute it. You got to make sure they're in the right place at the right time and somebody else doesn't walk into that trap. I mean, it's exhausting. Correct me if I'm wrong. I probably am going to get these great names wrong. A Sharon or Sharna?
I think it's a Sharnia.
Asharnia. What are the author's favorite book from each other?
I know it's a favorite question.
It's fine. I can answer this. I'm gonna jump in front of Tress here. It's gonna be Monster Girls in Space from him. I've said that on my own live chats. That out of all of his series, that is still by far my favorite of his. I enjoy a lot of the other ones. There's only one that to me was not as good as the rest of everything he writes. Monster Girls in Space. I will stop everything else I am reading to read the next Monster Girls in Space.
For DJ, it's pretty easy for me too. I loved Binding Words. It was a fascinating series. It was a really interesting take on the Fae, and that's one of my favorite styles of stories, is how you take something that exists, how it lives in the world, how we perceive it, and then you spin it and see how does it look from a different angle, how can I approach it from a different thing, how can I make this well-known story mine.
All right, we have questions in chat flooding in, which is excellent. Thank you guys so much for posting your questions. I will clarify, for those of you who are familiar, we are not playing DJ's game. Okay, we have a time limit on the stream. This is not please feel encouraged to ask your questions, but we are not going to catch you guys.
I've set a bad precedent.
Our next question is from Apoc Mora with I'm going to shorten it a little bit. With both of you having written harems of different sizes, what have you found to be the sweet spot or group size that lets you still have space for plot on the page?
I'd like to think that I included plot in every series, no matter what group size that Sean screwed me over on. Honestly, 3 to 5 love interests, I would cap it out at 5. Xander does not listen to me. That's why it's slightly more than that even in Antecedents. But if he ever tried to get to Sean levels of stuff, I would take him outside and space him.
Probably a good call. I loved Binding Words. It's my favorite series. But I was like, oh, Sean, would you come on, bro? You got to stop being such a nice guy. As far as like sizes for my series, I found that I prefer smaller groups.
Mm-hmm.
3 love interests tend to be the point where I can still have plenty of space for plot. All the characters get really well developed. I can go as high as 6, but as much as everybody's been asking, am I going to add more folks to Clan McLaughlin? I really don't see Desmond going beyond 6 girls because we're going to start seeing people fading off of the page, and I don't want to get in trouble with any of the female characters because they will kick my butt if I drop them.
Well, hang on. You mean the family group of Clan McLaughlin? Because I'm pretty sure the clan itself will grow out with accepted individuals, just not part of the core family. Correct? Or is
Yes,
that spoiler and we shouldn't talk about it?
So again, I always preface this when folks ask. I don't plan for it to go beyond this point. However, the characters have their own agency, and they have fucked with me on more than one occasion.
Don't pull Sean.
Yes, but it's when I say Clan McLaughlin, I mean as it sits right now with Desmond and his squad. As I don't know if we will see more folks added before the end of the series, because there's a lot of books left to write in that thing.
I know I still am holding out for a specific one. I'm not going to say anything because it's never going to happen, but and you don't have to worry about your girls beating you up if you stop writing muscle mommies. Don't stop writing muscle mommies, by the way, but that's why DJ doesn't have to worry about his characters beating him up.
That's the theme I can't stop from putting in my books. Actually, I always have to put the muscle mummies in there somewhere.
It's okay. I understand. You have a weakness for that. I have a weakness for succubi.
Yeah.
I'm not casting aspersions, sir.
Go ahead, Julie.
Honestly, just to kind of play off you guys for a minute. Honestly, I write gearheads. So when people are like, "Well, why do you do that?" and I'm sitting there like, I have fixed cars in multiple states from this chair. There's a reason I write gearhead. It's not just because that's what I know. It's because I know what it feels like when a girl or a guy, I've been in the room for both, when that wrench busts loose and you break a freaking knuckle because you didn't have your hand right. Okay, so yeah, I understand all that. I really do. It's like muscle mommy, succubi. I have gearheads. We all have our one thing that it's like, no, this is it's like I don't care what the hell I have to fit in. This is the person. Uh
Repairs are never complete until you offer blood to the machine gods in order to get that engine working again.
Exactly. There has got to be a sacrifice. 9 times out of 10, it's you. But another question from Bad Drop Bear: which character would you love to have a beer with? That is a very good question.
That's a. As they sit in their stories right now, I think that the character I would wish to have a beer with the most would probably be Desmond, because I feel like he would be the most down to earth of the characters. And I just love to hear his stories of the stuff that I have to skim over, of the day-to-day life of living out there amongst the aliens, the other species, and what his existence is, and all the stuff that I have to miss because I've got to rush to get that plot piece in there.
So if I wanted to be a little shit, I would say Sean because he's my best friend, and that's easy. I can do that every Tuesday. I do. If I was going to take the question a little more seriously, I would say it would be Magnus, who nobody has met yet.
Don't do it, Chet.
Okay.
Don't
Don't
do
do
it.
it. Don't you do it.
Behave.
Hold on a second.
Daniel, can I?
What? The fact that you've read it?
I've met Magnus.
Yeah, that
You have.
Eyebrow wiggle.
Chat. Stop.
You, my editors, and two other very select people outside of my alpha readers read through that story. There is a small group who actually heard it being recorded live ahead of time, but we're not going to talk about what Andy did live recording the book.
Okay.
Secret project.
I think
super secret project.
I think we're over. Go ahead, Julie.
Oh, are you going to take the next one?
I was going to take the next one.
Okay, go ahead.
I will say, Tress, I thought you would have said Desmond. How do I word this? Desmond as he currently is, not in the story, but like the little chapter, prefaces we get with like their diaries and stuff that's clearly set, later on. Because then, like, you're sitting down having a beer and he can actually, help you, fill out the rest of the story.
I feel like I should clarify Tress's answer, though. He says Desmond, but that's because if he has a beer with Desmond, he knows that entire family unit is going to be there because the guards are always there.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, I get to have a beer, chat with the man, and I get to play with the Sevrax. Of course I'm going to do that.
Yes. It's not the 6 muscle mommies also gathered around the table, sir. I'm sure.
They're not all muscle mommies.
They are all taller than him.
Yeah. No, I think due to the fact that they're all in military fitness levels, they would unfortunately all qualify. Fortunately, it's not unfortunate in any fashion. They would all qualify as muscle mommies.
I guess it's a relative term.
Unfortunate.
All right, our next question comes from C. Joels again. What is one ask from your fans that you have had to sideline?
An ask from my friends that I've sidelined?
Yeah, an ask
The
from
only
your
thing
fans.
The only thing my fans have asked me that I've actually included is killing Skippy in every series that I've had going forward from now forward.
Outside of Resurrection Quest, but we try not to talk about that series. Otherwise, I don't I don't care what people suggest because I'm just an after-action reporter. I just write what my characters tell me. It doesn't matter what somebody else wants. Sorry, guys.
Oh, I don't have my resurrection one here. I was gonna say I've got that one.
May it rest in peace.
I have that's my Apocalypse Gates. How about you,
Yeah,
Chris?
Mihail has it on the nose. The Latsu in Monster Girls in Space. Because Amazon has their issues with quadrupeds. And I wish someone would give me a straight answer on it, but because they hedge and they don't answer when I ask the question of, are you going to send me to the porn dungeon if I include this character in a love interest? I can't add them, unfortunately. So they make really fun secondary characters.
But the snake girl's fine.
Yep, it's one leg, a million legs. Nobody cares about those, but 4 legs. There's something about the 4-leggers.
So you need to make a tripod, is what I'm hearing.
Basically, that might work.
To catch people up who are just returning from ads. Yes, C. Joel's, you're correct. The Tress's answer was Latsu, only because Amazon is prudish when it comes to certain anatomies.
Because alien species that have 4 legs might be a problem in the eyes of puritanical views.
Yeah, because 4 legs is what pets have, and they have an AI trained to scrape these things and check and make sure everything's copacetic, and it goes off on those. Because they can't just have somebody actually check it. I will not rant, don't worry.
Julie, I think you got the next one.
And believe me, we've all had our own issues with these on. Okay, so we had one come up in chat, and I want to address that one. And I want to tweak it just a smidge. But what is some tropes that you're absolutely fine writing, and then and
Do you need me to take it over real quick? I got it. So the question is directly from Bitzer. I will read it word for word and then Julie's twist. Bitzer asks, tropes, which do you think is best and which do you think is worst? So what tropes do you enjoy writing? What ones do you avoid writing?
Tress, you want to start since it was technically her question?
Yeah. So I would say the tropes that I hate writing the most, I'll start with that one first because it's the easiest, is I really hate the alpha Chad character trope where they are just unreasonably competent in everything that they do, and they just walk through life swinging their cod around that they can do everything. It's just so boring. I like a character with flaws. I like a character that has struggles. There's a reason Desmond's 5'4". He's short and he has to deal with the world from a lower angle than everything else, on top of the other problems that gives. As far as tropes that I do enjoy, I said it earlier, muscle mommies. But the other, like, capable characters, I would say, is the biggest trope that I like. I like capable main characters. I like capable villains because there is fascination in overcoming a villain that knows what they're doing, and you actually get gratification from it. But having the characters just actually be smart enough to see the clues is so much nicer too.
It's not really a trope. The thing that I dislike the most is something that plotters fall into, and it's plot dictating to the character. Anytime a competent character suddenly becomes the most idiotic person in the world because it has to for the story to work, I set books down for that reason. I can't. If that's what the story needs to persist, I can't. But if we're gonna stick with just tropes, geez, the things I hate the most, trope wise, is uh, uh, blood family should always be supported. I can't get behind that. Some family needs to be cut out. Any rot needs to be cut out in life, otherwise it will infect everything around it. The tropes that I enjoy, I like overpowered main characters. I don't mind if it takes them time to build up to it, but normally by the end of a series, I like a main character who can just punch a god in the face and be like, I made it here. Deal with it.
That's the one style of OPMC I can get behind. The ones that have earned it.
I don't even mind if they start there as long as the character is good. I need a character I can understand and root for, but I prefer the characters who earn their power. But if as long as the character is well written, I don't even mind if they start just stupidly overpowered.
Okay, we have another question from Apoc Mora. When writing, what areas of magic or science have most consistently needed hand wavium? Like healing, lasers, economics, genetics, biology, etc.
Well, considering I've had APOC look over a couple of my things and then critique me from a science standpoint, most things science related are not my ballywick. They're things that I am not good at. I do my best to look a good chunk of things up and then go with what might work. But if it's hard science that you're looking for, my stories are always going to be very hand wavy over those parts. My magic systems have a set consistency to them, but I am not Brandon Sanderson. I am not going to break down the nuts and bolts of a magic system either. So I hand wave a lot in that regard.
I'd say for me, on the science half of it, a lot of it ties into the biology portion because it is something that I understand just enough to know what I have to slather the hand wavium on, which is why I'm very gentle in my usage of it in other places. Um, and as far as like the magic stuff goes, honestly, unlike Daniel, I actually like to break down the details of it at least in my own notes. I don't always display those notes to everybody, but I like to at least have the details so that I can go, okay, he should have this measurable improvement with this change. That way I can display it properly. But I'm a lot more like a few of our other author friends. I like spreadsheets.
Dakota.
Yes, exactly. Not to his level, but yeah.
Nobody else is that level, sir.
Actually, I beg to differ. We got one on our team, Izzy Kraus, which is my co-host on Hold My Pen Promptcast, also another one of my writer dies. She has a spreadsheet for everything, and hence the reason that I have spreadsheets for everything, and I've been brought into the spreadsheet world kicking and screaming. It's like, no, it's fine. I'll remember that. 3 days later, I ask Izzy what I named that character.
Yeah.
So I completely understand that. We have another question from chat. From the bookworm. I'm just gonna go with the bookworm because I'm
Mihail the
not.
bookworm,
I think
yeah.
it's supposed to be would you both collab on a series if it included Tone Muscle Mommy Succubi? Why did I actually learn that?
I left that one just for you.
You ass.
I really just wanted to hear you say toned muscle mommy succubi. I needed to.
Of the authors I know, I would be willing to collaborate with Daniel. I know that he doesn't share his toys though. So yeah.
I have a very
firm grasp of who I am as an individual. I don't play well with other people's toys, and I don't want other people to break mine. Um, I have told I think 2 other authors in my lifetime, hey, if you wanted to talk about something, I would be willing to at least have a conversation with you about it. It would be 3 with Tress, but honestly, you get into it's it's complicated. It's like doing dual narration. It gets complicated fast. The more chefs you have adding and subtracting from a fucking soup. So, is it possible? Yes. Would it be something I would be willing to do with the individual here? Also, yes. Would I want to be the one mostly in charge of it? Fuck you, no.
Yeah, with the conspiring I've done with other authors on different things, you require someone one that you trust very, very much, and you have got to communicate because even though this isn't a relationship like that, it's still
It's
a relationship.
still a relationship, so the three pillars are still needed, sir.
I'll ask our next question, which I'll preface I don't think this is a fair question, and I'm going to tweak it just a tiny bit to make some sense here. So, Dragus asks, which MC do you think you would have your best chance against in a fight from the other person's series?
Oh, from. Oh, geez. Against his main characters? Let's see. I'm stock human, out of shape, in my 40s,
So I said I don't think this is a
against
fair question for either.
against the main characters that he's written. I'm dead. I'm dead. At least, depending on how well Tress knows my series, there's at least one from way long ago that he could easily manhandle.
Yeah, and I don't want to take the easy out because I'm like that I know that, but I wasn't going to go that way. I was going to say of the protagonists of the well-known series, I think my best chance would be Alvin because he is the closest to a normal fucking human that any of them are. It's not a good chance, but it's still my best chance,
There,
especially because of what he is outside of the game.
but to say there are three from the early part. So you could take David slash Doomadoom, because I mean
Mhm.
he's in his 80s. That's not much of a fair fight. Seamus Alvin from Alpha World, just a normal guy, and actually you would at least you'd probably stand a much better chance against him than you would Alvin if you're talking about Alvin in game, unless you're talking about the frozen head that is Alvin. So
That's the one I was talking about. I'm like, yeah, of them, I think in game I could probably do Al. I'd have the best chance of actually like at their peaks. Otherwise, if it's out of game, oh yeah, because Al's just a brain in a jar.
All right, Julie, you're up. I'd take on Xander. Just saying. I'd lose, but I'd try. Outside of a mech, like I feel like I could at least get a couple hits in. I can't pick
I
anybody
am
from
very
Tresses.
intrigued to read both of your series so I can catch up on a lot of these characters because you guys got me peaked like across the board. Um, but honestly, I go under the understanding with a lot of I go into a lot of fights with the male characters. It's a grab them by their balls, put them on their knees, and call it a day. Now, if that doesn't work, I can run. So if I'm running, something's chasing me, and we all need to be running. Okay. Um, Jazz Jack Rabbit uh says, I know that DJ has his ogre glare for answering spoilers on or in stream. Does anyone else have something similar?
I definitely make a face like the ogre glare, but I don't have a webcam, so nobody ever sees it. Though anybody on my server is very familiar with the wiggling eyebrow dog, and that's my usual response in an emote form to questions that I'm like, I can't answer that.
and I have my look over the top of my glasses, wondering why the intelligence is lacking enough to ask said question.
I usually just squint and glare.
Bad Drop Bear asks, when you introduce new spices,
think it's supposed to be
species, got you. When you introduce new species, how do you come up with their I think it's supposed to be eccentricities.
I don't think I've added anything that hasn't been at least touched upon in some mythology somewhere before. So I mostly pull from what people would expect across the board. Yeah, then that's spoilers, so I can't mention that. So mostly I use at least bits and pieces of what you would expect, even if I do twist them slightly. I'll say that.
Mine usually I do similar to what Daniel does, where I'll pick a character or something similar from a lore standpoint, and then I think about how is the environment or the setting going to change them. I'll use the Alpha, for example, in Monster Girls in Space. Anybody who's familiar with the word or any kind of Norse lore, Alpha is the Norse word for elf. Very simple. So that was my basis. Well, this setting has lots of ambient mana. That mana has elemental alignments depending upon its origin. This particular species, elves, have always been sensitive to mana in all lore, so these elves, the Alpha, change very rapidly in a way that scares geneticists when exposed to different types of mana. Thus, the idiosyncrasies occur, or the Uthra and their hair and their reaction to ultraviolet light. All of that stuff it's how does the setting influence this character, alter their personality, and that's how I dig out the idiosyncrasies and the changes I want to make to the different species.
All right, I want to point out we have hit our 1 hour mark. So for the mods in chat, we are just going to finish up with what we have in the Discord for questions. Thank you all so much for your questions in chat. If we didn't get to you this time, I do apologize. But there are socials scrolling underneath both of the authors' names and ways to get a hold of them and ask your questions elsewhere. Our next question from C. Joels. Would either of you consider writing a regression series?
I might or might not have dabbled in that.
Okay. We'll leave it there.
The regression story one is always really hard for me because a lot of times when I read them, I'm like, I don't care about them going back in time. I want to read how they got there. And I always feel cheated because I don't get to see all of the stuff as to why this particular character acts in this particular way. Yes, we get a hint at it, but it feels like they're teasing me because I never get the full story. I never get to see what made them into who they are. And I always feel like I'm missing out on them. The flashbacks are the closest that get to it, but they never really feel like there's enough, and they always seem like they stretch out too far if they're used too often. So personally, I have no interest in writing a regression story, but I mean, if the characters show up and tell me that's what their story is, that's what's getting written.
Julie, you good? You continue.
Okay. What is something that you guys have coming up in the near future? Do you do book conventions, signing events?
Oh, we're wrapping it up?
No, it was just the quickest question I could come up with on the fly.
Okay. Usually our wrap-up question, but we can go ahead and get it out of the way now. Yeah, if you want to tell chat for anybody in case we need to drop soon, what do people have to look forward to coming up soon?
At the moment, the only thing I've got coming up this year is I will be a panelist at LitRPGCon. I will have a limited amount of swag that I am currently getting produced for folks that can find me there. I will be happily to sign anything that you want me to. I probably will have some stuff to give away as well. Things like signed books already and some book plates of the covers done up as metal posters.
I will also be at LitRPGCon. I was one of the sponsors of the convention. I sponsored the vendor hall, so I will be there with free things to give away. I always see conventions. I know people go there to sell stuff and hopefully make money. I always see them as a loss myself. So I go with the idea that I'm just going to lose a lot and call it promotional. So I will also be there, and if Tress needs a spot to post up at, I will have my tables and will gladly host him for, certain book plates made in metal that he might have on him at the time.
Oh, another thing too, because I just saw Joel's in chat, not able to attend Lit RPG. Just a quick plug: if you join my Discord, November is my anniversary. I also do an anniversary giveaway for stuff like that too, that you could just get in the mail if you come in and hang out and chat with us.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug
Hey,
indeed.
I'm all about a freebie, so I mean, like, I can't even say anything bad there.
And for those of you
Well,
who are, oh, go ahead.
I'm about to say, if she likes freebies, then the every month I do my live chat on Twitch. I pick 5 people who've contributed to the live chat, and they get a choice of one of the many different series coins that I give away, which your co-host has a couple of. And then in May, which just passed, I do my full-time author anniversary across all my different social media platforms. And then in October, I have my the first book I published anniversary, and I do the same thing.
I keep them in their
But
plastic case, but there's one.
the Apocalypse Gates coin, but I have one for every series I've done.
The rest of my collection is currently off being measured so that I can get a coin holder. So, and for those of you not familiar with these two, they are also very, very prolific in their and borderline insane in their publishing schedule. So it's pretty much every 2 months you can expect 2 to 3 months you can expect to have a new book coming out. So that's what to look forward to. Tress, you just dropped MGIS 8 on the last week, right?
Yeah, last Tuesday, not this one this last week, but the week before.
My days are blending together. I was like, I know that it was. I didn't remember if it was this week or last week, but yes. Yeah. So MGIS 8 just dropped, and DJ, your next one is coming out on the 1st of June, so in 2 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that one
Heavenly
is
Chaos.
Heavenly Chaos. Yep, right there.
Heavenly
right there
Chaos
next to me.
5. Heavenly Chaos 5. Delving and Dating is June 1st.
Our next question from the chat comes from C. Joels. If your MCs are overpowered from the start, could... Oh, goodness me. I'm getting DJ vibes from the monthly chats here, trying to figure out how to read this. If MCs are overpowered from the start, could either author take the MCs from overpowered to flip that to its inverse and be powered in another way?
So take them as overpowered characters and then make them build a different power set, or make it the inverse, which is depower them throughout the series.
I think that's our answer right there.
I'm about to say, you could do either of them. Basically doing a riches to rags story in the idea of a power scale instead of money. It's completely feasible. None of my characters have come to me with that story, so I don't have anything on the docket for that one. Taking an overpowered character and then dropping him in a different setting, and then making him basically rebuild his power set around a new system. Yeah, I might or might not have at least a small idea of something along those lines.
Oh, okay. I see in the chat, C. Jules is saying that was clarification on the regression. Would you write a regression story question? So, okay. So now we've got our answer.
Knowing that it was in reference to the regression story, yeah, I think that would be something that'd be relatively easy to do, to take them and go, hey, so you were a superpowered archmage sent back in time, and you have your knowledge, but you don't have your magical powers, and you don't want to be an archmage anymore, so we're going to make you into a punch wizard instead. That actually sounds like it'd be kind of fun, now that I think about it.
I cast Fist.
I might,
exactly.
like I said, I might or might not have had something that I've got in the background.
Okay, the next one is Angry Townsman. I would like to ask which authors inspired you from your formative years?
So formative years, that would be Piers Anthony and Tamora Pierce are the two ones that were the big formative ones because I got a hold of Piers Anthony's books way younger than I should have, but they were great high fantasy books. They really got me thinking, and Tamora Pierce's were the ones that showed me it doesn't have to be a straightforward I cast fireball type of magic to make it have high impact. Um, there's a reason why I have that like I've been cooking that crafting idea for so long, like I mentioned earlier. Um,
If it's formative, if it's basically formative, Tolkien, Pratchett, Zelazny, Asimov, Heinlein. I read a lot. So yeah, there are a lot of authors I could tag that. I could tag with that.
I did forget one, and I feel bad for it. I hope she'll forgive me. But Anne McCaffrey, that she was my introduction into sci-fi. The Dragon Riders Return, for all that it's fantasy in a lot of its setting, it was a sci-fi story.
We only have 3 questions left. Thank you so much for sticking past our time. We're going to get through these last 3 as quick as we can. The next one's from Bosk. What percentage of your daily headspace does a story idea consume before you have, in all caps, have to write it?
Daily headspace. My daily headspace is mostly taken up with the chapters that I am obligated to write to get my next book out. Having had stories clamor at me, it takes up all of my time that I would
Stop to read or play a game if there's a story that I just absolutely have to get out. And then what I do is I do what I've done before. I write it side by side with whatever my next series.
chapter is. So I'll write if like I'm writing Aether's 13 right now. So I'll write my chapter of Aether's 13 to make sure that I meet my deadlines, and then I would write Heavenly Chaos 1 on the side, and then when I had a spot come open in my rotation, look, I had Heavenly Chaos 1 and 2 basically ready to go to slot into my rotation.
I'd say as far as like actual like percentage of the headspace, it's hard to put a number on it because it's a lot like what Daniel was saying with all that free time you thought you had. Yeah, it's not free anymore. It's going to sit there. It's going to niggle at the back of your mind. You're going to be thinking about it constantly. You'll be referencing stuff. Even the
Just easier
games
to
that I
write it.
play. Yeah, even the games that I play are going to start digging into what could qualify as research or ideas that feed into this that might have some pieces of the setting. If I had to put a hard number on it, I'd say it's about 20% of my daily headspace is where I'm like, I got to do something. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of screaming voices in the back of my head.
So how often though is when you have one of those stories that has to be written where if you're like I'm done, I did the thing I had to do, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna play this video game, and you just can't. There's no enjoyment in the game because the voices are so loud.
That's what happens pretty often, yeah.
Yeah.
Now we know where critical mass is, folks. 20% and when you can no longer enjoy video games. And the next one, Julie. I can take. Okay, gotcha. Next one's from again from Hail the Bookworm. What is one female character trope that people love in love interest choices that either of you dislike? Since this would have been, so we'll start with Tress.
One that they love, but I personally dislike. Uh, airheaded characters. I like my smart girls. I really like the Smart Girls. I want the female characters to be just that. They need to be full characters. They need to be well developed in more than just their figure. I need a brain in there. And it drives me crazy when you see the cardboard cutout characters that are just paraded along to warm the bed. So that's the one trope that I hate the most is the empty-headed character.
Since he's taken my answer, I will go with the second one, which is the overly busty woman for no reason. Just if women come in all shapes and forms, for fuck's sake, guys. They don't have to be waifs with 30 D's, okay?
Your personality is not your boobs,
sorry,
right?
30 D is what I meant. 30 D's, not 30 D. You know, they're just for fuck's sake. Have let them have A cups. Let them be a plus sized woman. I have written both of these things because I detest that every single woman in a lot of the other books in the genre are basically she was the most gorgeous thing ever, and oh my god, her boobs and her ass. That is it. That is all she came down to.
Tress, I almost made a comment about your airheaded character answer and how one of cosplayed as a Marine once, but we'll leave that for our
I mean,
readers.
Reagan doesn't count as a.
I know
Reagan
she doesn't.
count
I
as
know
an
she
airhead
doesn't, but she cosplayed as one for a moment.
Yeah,
Julie, you got the
she's
last
a
one?
savant.
I personally wholeheartedly agree with both those answers. Yeah, women can be smart. Women can be a whole lot of freaking things, and just because we're plus size doesn't make us any less desirable.
That's
Just
right.
put that out.
I have one of my main female characters is plus sized.
Right. See, now I have to get my hands on
A few of them
like,
are.
That's Apocalypse Gates.
A few of them are.
Well, I'm talking specifically Gothy.
Okay, yeah, Gothy.
Okay, Bad Drop Bear. Favorite manga cap that I don't comic at the moment.
I don't read a whole lot of
I
manga.
have a feeling with that eyebrow that means something.
Favorite manga
or comic, he said.
Okay, so that's actually one I have very few manga that I follow religiously, but I own the entire collection of Battle Angel Alita because it was one of my first comic book series and exposures to anime. I watched the old early like 1990s anime version on MTV when they had it. And that was literally my first exposure to anime, so it's a treasured part of my history.
I actually don't read any manga. Comics I haven't read since I was junior high, first year or two of high school, and that's 30 something years ago. So I can't answer that. If we're gonna go into my deepest history, then I was a huge fan of Wolverine because he never stayed down. The tenaciousness of just I mean, it was a superpower, super healing, and then they grafted metal to him. But just you could basically behead the man, and he would still get up, attach the head, shrug his shoulders, and keep moving forward. Was a lot of my life as a child. It doesn't matter how hard you get knocked down, you have to stand back up. So,
Julie, I'll leave you to the. I'll let you handle your normal outro and yelling at people to go and press all the buttons. I will.
Actually, can you ask one more question real quick while I handle something, and then?
Oh well, then I'll just do that. I'll do my portion of the outro then, while you go handle what you got to do. That is going to be this. We're done with our questions portion for this. We have kept our authors over time. Thank you both so much for staying longer, and thank you both for being here. You've been excellent. I as a longtime reader and fan myself, I can't thank you guys enough for saying yes and being here. We'll do Julie's bit. I can do a little bit of that. Ladies and gentlemen, if you, again, want to remind you, if you weren't here earlier, if you know anybody who is an author, an editor, a narrator, anybody book related in audiobooks, literary books, ebooks, publishers, etc., who want to be on the show, please join the Discord. Send us a name, or there. I believe the email is also underneath the stream. You can get a hold. Click the links. Send us their information. We will reach out to them. If there's somebody you want to see on the show and you want to ask them questions, they can't run. Well, they can run away from us, but we're pretty good at tracking them down. So do what you got to do to get their information to us, and we will reach out. Go ahead, Julie.
Okay, as we've said, thank you guys so much for indulging us tonight with all of our questions. Hopefully you guys had fun. And hopefully to our audience, if you are new here and you want to stick around, tomorrow night is Hold My Pen Promptcast, where we read out the weekly writing prompt and everything that everyone has come up with for the week. Also, if you're writing for said prompt, you have until 3 o'clock Central Time tomorrow to get it into our inbox. If you are going to be late, you already know the procedure. Get a hold of me, Izzy, anybody in the general chat of the Discord. This way we can get this handled. And I already know that it's coming in, so if it doesn't come in, I can check with you. Hit all the buttons, be all the places, sign up for the newsletter. It is free. Also, being advertised in our newsletter is free. Being in our Discord is free. If you're not fucking doing it, why the fuck not? Here we go. Anywho's, we love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow night. Same bad time, same bad channel for the Hold My Pen Promptcast. Bye!